Welcome to our Ayurveda talk. We are actually going to talk tonight about how Ayurveda looks at traveling. And I'm talking about traveling tonight because we all have to travel at one time or another. When you're traveling, even from one part of the state to another part of the state, that is still considered movement. So when we travel, we are causing change. We are creating change. And a lot of us, those of you who have traveled like on the other side of the country or to other continents, have had that experience where you travel and it causes digestive issues. It disrupts digestion, it disrupts sleep, and it can be pretty uncomfortable. Most of the time, the digestive issues that happen are constipation. So we're going to talk a little bit about how Ayurveda looks at travel. What is travel? And how does Ayurveda deal with travel? What is Ayurveda's advice for when you have to travel? And sometimes we have to. And if you have a job where you travel, well, the research out there, and I did do some research myself, and I found several articles, one by the flight safety, there's like a flight safety administration, and also the New York Times had an article, and there were several other articles that talked about people who have to travel, especially by plane. So pilots, flight attendants, those individuals, or people who are traveling for their job and they're having to travel once a week, they end up having a shorter life expectancy compared to the general public. Well, why is that? So when you travel, it's stressful. It's stressful on the body. Anytime you cause stress on the body, then that is going to impact your body's health. But here's how Ayurveda looks at it. First of all, travel is what we call a vata move. It's movement. It's a vata issue. So vata is the elements of ether and air. What does air and ether do? Well, ether is just going to keep expanding and expanding and expanding its space. And vata is movement, movement. So anytime you make a change in your routine, you make a change in your job, you make a change in your life with anything, it's disruptive. We know that. When you start a new job, it's disruptive. You don't know what to expect. It affects us. Or, like I said, when you travel. So when you're traveling and you're changing time zones, it's going to cause a vata imbalance. How does vata show up? Vata, usually digestive, shows up as it's going to affect your appetite. So it'll cause variable appetite. You're hungry, you're not hungry, you're hungry, you're not hungry, you're not hungry, you are hungry. It can cause constipation. And if you're traveling by plane, a lot of times it's because it's dry. It's a very dry environment. So it's dry, and then you're off your schedule, and maybe you're not sleeping. That's going to increase vata in the body. So it's movement, movement, movement. And you are literally physically moving when you are traveling. You're physically moving. So that is disruptive to the vata inside the body. It's causing more movement. What happens when we have too much movement in the body? That will cause things like anxiety, insomnia, and like I said, digestive issues as well. Other digestive issues could show up as basically dryness, bloating, gas, and those things are happening. Those are all vata digestive issues. If you tend to be a little more on the pitta side, you have more fire in your constitution, you might be experiencing digestive issues with a little more heat behind it, but it's because that air is pushing on the heat. And what does air do to fire? Makes it bigger. So people who travel may not be as patient. They get worn down. They get depleted. So what does Ayurveda suggest? If you have to travel, if you know you have to travel, if you can give yourself a few extra days to get there, get where, like let's say you're going to Europe. So we're on the West Coast here, Pacific time. And if you were to travel to Europe, you would want to get there and make sure that you were getting in the time zone as quickly as possible. So if you arrived in the morning, it is actually better to stay up as long as you can and go to sleep when it's nighttime, because you're paying attention to your natural biorhythms, your circadian rhythms when you do that. When the sun is up, you're up. When the sun is down, you're down. So that is a better way of dealing with that. And then getting onto a routine with eating, not just eating randomly whenever. Get where you're going and make sure that you are able to get adequate amount of sleep. And that means extra time before you have to get into like meetings or where you're traveling to for, if it's for work, all the kind of stuff that you have to do for work. Or let's say you're traveling for vacation. Instead of loading up your schedule right at the beginning, you are much better off getting there, get your rest, create a routine with your food and with your exercise, all of it. Okay. Because you will get even worse. It will cause even more problems, even more of a vata imbalance. And what ends up happening with a lot of people is they travel, they go do all their stuff, they come back and they go boom, right back into work, and they don't get sufficient rest. When you come back from traveling, you need to rest. You need to not be loading up your schedule even when you come back home. So you need to rest. You need to make sure that you be diligent about your routine, because you will be fatigued. You will end up having digestive issues. And so what else can we do? Well, there are herbs out there that keep the nervous system calm. There are also treatments that would help you. So if you travel somewhere and you know your body and you know you're going to get tired, schedule yourself a massage. Get some body treatment for yourself. Remember the skin. The skin is the organ of action for it's connected to vata, to air. The skin is. So that's why weighted blankets calm the body down. So you want to help support vata, calm down all that movement by creating a routine, giving yourself a body treatment, making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, eating nourishing foods. That means nothing raw, no salads. I know everybody thinks salads are super healthy in the West. Well, they are healthy, but they're not always appropriate. They're harder to digest. Okay, so nourishing foods, foods that are easy to digest, simple foods. Cook everything right now. Make it easier for your body. So that's what you want to do. That's how Ayurveda is going to approach travel. Make sure that you get where you're going, you have plenty of rest, you get a routine, and then maybe even schedule body treatments, maybe even have herbs that support you. There is a herbal, Ayurvedic herbal blend called Stita Palati. I love it. It is fantastic for colds and flus, and it helps boost the immune system. So you want to get yourself on things that help boost your immune system. So emergency, there's a vitamin supplement that was actually created by, I think it was a flight attendant. Oh, what's the name of it? It was the one that everybody was getting. I can't remember the name of it, but it was one that was developed by a person who was traveling all the time. And they noticed, I'm always getting sick. And they ended up getting this vitamin combination that just boosts everything. So you want to do that and support your system. Pay attention. Listen to your body. If it needs to rest, rest. Don't overschedule yourself. All right. So those are things that Ayurveda does. It is basically a vata imbalance. You treat it as a vata imbalance. It is a vata issue. Travel is change. Change is movement. That is air. Okay. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I hope that we're all going to have lots of fun traveling this upcoming year. Just make sure you prepare, give yourself plenty of time to stay in balance. It is important for our health overall. Longer life, better quality of life. It's worth it. If you're going to live well. Okay.